Alright guys, I don't really know what this market watch is going to be, so let's just jump into it and we'll see where the road takes us. Alright, so welcome into Ion Market. Today I got some tabs open, just kind of taking a look around TCG Player today. I just bookmarked a bunch of tabs that I were like, oh, this is a different price than I thought it was. So there's not really much of a theme to today's video. Not much change with Ancient Guardians. I mean, some of the stuff that spiked with the ultra rares have gone back down to more reasonable levels, and you can probably get most of that information from some of the other Market Watch videos. But I figured we'd just kind of take a bit of a look around and see where things are going, where some things are at. And yeah, so that's what we got up today, starting with Star Eater from the 2014 Mega Pack, which is around $12, $11 maybe. One of the things that I was actually, because I'm looking to pick up a Star Eater in all rarities eventually, I actually was taking a look at this Mega Pack as a whole, and I know you guys probably aren't going to be able to see the entire thing on the screen here just because of the way it's set up, but if you look at this Mega Pack, just some of the more primary cards, stuff that was worthless before has really started to slowly creep up in value, and we'll take a look at Ghostricks a bit more coming up in the video, but like even things like, I'll say the Sylvan High Protector, Felgrand obviously has been up a ton for all copies, but you guys get the point that I'm saying, is in general, Hoot Cake's still about $7. So in general, like Megatin 2014 has really started to see an increased value over time, and I wonder whether or not it's still cheap enough that like some of these could go up, you know, Spellbook of Judgment at $4, not a terrible price if that card were to ever come back. But just as I finished watching Zexal, I was looking around at some of the older Zexal sets and trying to figure out stuff I could pick up, and happened to notice that this was pretty cheap, so just thought I'd point that out there if you guys can find these at relatively cheap prices, but yet $20 for a Mega Pack is pretty steep considering the estimated value pulled out of that. But that being said, I did say we'd start with Ghostrick, so let's start with Mary. Megatin's Mary is a pretty much bought out to the point of not much existing, about $20 for near mint, and if you take a look over at the Shadow Specters one, I don't think it's much better, or Legacy of the Valiant, I'm sorry. It is cheaper, but not by a ton, $12 there versus $20. I think that may just be because the Mega Pack quantities are lower. I would obviously encourage, if you were ever going to go after these, that you would go for the original rarity, but that's just where they're at. Ghostrick Lantern as well in Mega Pack looks like it's up a ton, $13 plus $1 shipping, so we're looking at $14. I think the Shadow Specters one is pretty much right there too. Near mint first at 13, so they're pretty close. You guys saw my box opening of Shadow Specters, which was an error box, and it was cool, but we did not get any super rares in that box at all, and I was really hoping to get a Lantern or two, because it's just one of those cards I want to have, but I don't really want to like spend the money on at the moment. But I don't know, I mean, Ghostrick's a fan favorite archetype, they're cool, they don't have a lot of, you know, accessible prints. The commons do, but none of the older foils do, so it's doesn't really seem to me that there'd be any reason to think they're going to go down anytime soon. Sky Cavalry Centuria is one I noticed. $14 at the cheapest. Secrets of Eternity, really good rank 2. I just don't know how often you're making rank 2s. I mean, this is like a card that was played in like Frogs, so it's definitely not a terrible card. Mega Pack from 2015, which is a year later, is pretty much right around the same. I mean, if you have this, you probably might have pulled this out of bulk when it started to go up. It's been around like $7 to $8 for a while, but it looks like it's almost doubled from the last time I saw it anyway, so interesting card. Like, I have one. I really only need one on the off chance I ever play it in something with rank 2s, but this is one they might do with reprinting in something random like a maximum gold. Sort of all over the place here. Talking Megatins, Witch's Strike is still up quite a bit. $4 for this, and the Secret is way more. I think the Secret's been bought out a few times, but the Secret from Savage Strike first edition, if you find a near mint, is around $11.50. I don't know. I think it's a decent card, but like it's just other cards do what this does better, and I just don't think this is ever gonna like regularly work its way into any competitive deck. So I would definitely like, I don't know, if you could move these at that price, it may not even be the worst value, to be totally honest. The opposite of that, though, Abomination's Prison in the Megatins, about $3, and this is one that I think has a lot of long-term potential. Unchained is a deck people really like, and it feels like it's only a couple cards away from being competitively viable. By comparison, the Secret Rare from Chaos Impact is about $10, so, you know, could you see the Mega Pack one maybe double from where it's at and go up to about $6 if the deck were to, you know, either A, get more support, or B, just become more competitive, rather. I can't speak today. Both possible options and both, you know, reasons it would be cool to have extras of those. Sticking with the Megatin stuff, Phantasme is up for the super rare to about $6. I think the cheapest copy of this still is the Gold Series one with that alternate art. You either like it or you hate it. I'm not a huge fan. But even that one is about $4, so it's not super cheap. I think this card is starting to work its way back into some decks, so just food for thought if you don't have them. And we've seen that, like, even being reprinted a few times for a hand trap really doesn't mean much, because if you look at Ash Blossom, which has way more prints, it is still very expensive. Obviously, the difference is that Phantasme is a little bit less generic, but it's still a really good card that will come up from time to time. Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight, complete change of conversation here, out of Dragon's Legend, the complete series, is about $10. Just one I thought I'd bring attention to. If you don't have this and you have interest in it, it does feel like it's at a relatively cheap entry level right now. This set as a whole is just slowly creeping up over time sealed. You know, it's not bottoming out or anything, but it's definitely not, it's only a couple bucks above retail, but you definitely are not going to find them unless your locals has them. I haven't seen them at stores in a while. I'm not going to see much of anything at stores in a while, but just, you know, it's the original Ultra Rare. I don't know if people are going to go for the colored Ultra Rares all that much, although Numeron Dragon seems to be doing pretty well. The other ones are a little bit cheaper, but it's definitely a card that I just think is going to be a smart pickup. It's the only version of it with that art, so it's still cheap enough where I feel like if you're a collector of the DMG Dragon Knights or DMG in general, maybe grab it sooner than later, but again, it really just depends on what you're looking to spend and if it's something you're interested in. It does just feel like it's going to eventually end up, you know, settling at a higher price than it is. Ancient Guardians, jumping to it briefly, Phosphochord Fancia got a buyout. I didn't cover this one in the last video because it hadn't been bought out. It is up to about $12. I mean, I don't know, like, it's cool to see a little bit of value being injected into the set, I guess, and this has actually overtaken Coolia, so for whatever that's worth, maybe this is just because it's a searcher from the extra deck, but, you know, decks generally look towards that kind of thing. It's going to be a while before we really see where Ancient Guardians ends up, but that's where it's at the moment. Then Ogdo Abyss, the Ogdoadic Overlord, is settled to about 20. I really do think this is an insanely good generic card, so it's not terrible to have. If you picked it up, you know, when it was 10 or 11, you're sitting nicely right now. Obviously, you could make a decent profit just by flipping them, but it's also one of those cards that in the future could potentially, you know, go up more. But I'm looking, you know, a year from now, not so much immediate. Tri-Brigade Fractal is up quite a bit, $22, give or take. It's an insanely good card, and really the only high-rarity card in the engine, outside of the Secret Rare, which is a good card, but more of a one-of. As a whole, like, outside of Tri-Brigade, Fractal's still really good on its own in certain decks, so this, you know, assuming it's in the Megatins, you'll see this price come down, but if it's not in the Megatins, or if it's in the Megatins as like a common, this may hold some level of value, just depending on how accessible it becomes. But my personal recommendation, and again, I'm not really giving advisement with the intent that you necessarily follow it, but if it were me, I would sell this at this price because it's probably going to be reprinted. Number 97, Draglubion, is $21, which has to be because of the Ogdoadic, or the Abyss. Obviously, you play this with things like Numeron Dragon, Hope Harbinger, and number 92, Hard Earth Dragon. This has always been a good card that's always started to creep up in price, and if you look at the set that it's from, the fact that it's more expensive is not shocking. We haven't seen a lot of Battles of Legend reprints in general, and so I have no reason to believe that this card is going to suddenly become super accessible unless we get like that numbers binder or something. Phantom Knights of Tornscales is at a really good price right now. Some listings at 16. They quickly go up to 20. I think if you can get this at 15, it's a good pickup regardless of whether or not it gets reprinted, because Secret Rare Original will hold value, and it is a really, really good card. But it's just, it seems to be falling down as we get closer to the tins, which, you know, got delayed, but I think this will be a good one to have in the future. Gamma from Toon Chaos is up to $5. After that $5 listing disappears, they go up to $6.50. These are some mod play here and a few unlimiteds, but it does feel like there's some competitive sales going on, people trying to move these if you have them in bulk. If you opened a bunch of Toon Chaos, I mean, I opened like 6 or 7 boxes back when the set came out, and I think I had somewhere around like 15 of these. So, you know, it's a really solid opportunity to unload a card at like $6, and typically they'll sell in play sets, so yeah, if you have extras, you might want to look to list them. But again, it does seem like it's getting pretty competitive, because when I started this video and I was looking at this stuff earlier, this listing wasn't even here. The cheapest was $6. So people are trying to make whatever little undercuts they can to make a sale. So just food for thought. Toon Blackluster Soldier Near Mint First Edition is $45. That is insane, but not shocking. I did say I think this card will over time age well. it's a Toon, it's from Toon Chaos, it's a fan favorite card like BLS, and it doesn't have any other prints. Not to mention it is decent in its own deck, but the deck's not very good. But I mean, unless this card gets reprinted, I don't see any reason to think it's going to see a substantial dip in value, at least not for the first ads. I mean, Unlims may. We'll see what happens, but, you know, it seems like it's pretty much going to stay around 30 plus at this point. Tiramisu from Astral Pack 6, which is more or less the next couple cards just from some tournament packs, OTS packs I was looking at, is up to $18 for the common. I don't even want to look at the other ones. 75 on the ulti, but that's probably not even accurate. 26, 13. This card's insanely expensive. I mean, it's good, but it really does feel like, I don't know why they missed the boat on reprinting this either in Dual Overload or Maximum Gold. I think the next reprint set we get, I'd be shocked not to see this in there. But the comments at that price, that is insane. Speaking of Xyz that are pretty good value, Castel Ulti, looks like there's a couple here for about 46. I've been looking at some of the trends, and this is disappearing off the market too. A lot of the Ultimate Rare Xyz, and obviously as far as rank 4s go, Castel's a pretty decent card, but you're not going to play it a ton unless there's like a more Wing Beast stuff that comes out, or more Wind support, which I guess we are getting Wind support, but I don't think any of it really utilizes rank 4s all that much. Castel's one to keep an eye on. Ultimate Rare, if you are chasing high rarity, I do worry this may be one of the last opportunities to get one at a quote-unquote reasonable price, because typically when these ultis disappear from market, they do not come back at like an insanely low price. You're not going to see a ton of people throwing these up with the intent of just getting rid of them because it's an ulti. It's just going to preserve value over time, but 45, a little higher than I want to pay, but if they were 40, I'd say scoop one. Another one I noticed very much not making sense is Level Limit Area B Super Rare from Astral Pack 7. Like, it's older, but it's like $8. I don't know if maybe there's something playing this that I'm missing. People are going after like old Clown Control decks or something, but every copy of the card seems to be at least a little bit valued, and I don't know what the reasoning is for that. Maybe someone knows something I don't, but if you have these in your bulk, you might want to pull them out and make some sales, because they definitely sell at that price. Windwitch Winterbell Super Rare is really, really cheap. This is one of the 7s you can bring out with the new Crystal Wing. I don't know if it's actually good. However, it does have an effect that allows you to quick effect special a monster from your hand during your opponent's turn, and it is not restricted to summoning Windwitches, so some combo potential there with that. It might be worth looking at, or at least grabbing one, because it is the highest rarity of the card. And the last two we'll wrap up with DT today. Mist Valley Thunderlord has been pretty much cleared off the market completely for near mint, with $50 being the cheapest. Again, another target for the Crystal Wing. The Secret Rare is still very much accessible, so you don't really have to worry too much about that if you worry about having it. But it does seem like a good combo piece, and people are just going to chase after that stuff regardless. And of course, you're going to Unite Trident, another one that can be brought out with that. This one has not seen the same fate yet, but I will say that it does have a unique effect in that it can hit your opponent's extra deck, and this can be tutored out by the new Crystal Wing or the new Clear Wing. So just another card that, like, it's DT. People either love or hate the DT foiling patterns, but at $8, if you think it might be something you play, it's not a bad price, especially when you compare it to the Hidden Arsenal 4 version, which is only like a couple dollars less. So my recommendation would be go after the DT if you plan on picking this up, because it's going to be a much better long-term value for you. So that's going to do it for today's Ion Market. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always, and I'll see you in the next video.